आपके बच्चे तो होते हैं
एक दो आ रहे
A very good morning to esteemed guests, scholars and valued participants. I am Monisa Yusuf, PhD scholar in the Division of Food Science and Technology and your host for today's session. Welcome you on the 7th day of the MSME sponsored MDP training program on food safety, quality management and marketing of food products with value addition and quality standards. It is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for today, Professor Alok Kumar Srivastava, former Director, Referral Food Laboratory, CFTRA, Mysore. I request Dr. ABIDA JABEEN Ma'am, Associate Professor, Division of Food Science and Technology, to present a bouquet as welcome token to Professor Alok sir. Today, we will be having two lectures of Professor Alok sir. Firstly, he will speak on insights into food safety regulations and nutraceuticals, and after that, he will continue food frauds detection and rapid testing methods for food chain. Now I request Professor Alok sir to please come over the dais and deliver his lecture.
Thank you, Ms. Sen, and also Professor ABIDA ma'am for inviting me to share the thoughts with you. सारे participants को welcome for this last day of the MDP program. This is the last day. It means that you have already gone through the 6 days of knowledge sharing, and hope that our interaction, our presentation would be interactive one. So, are you comfortable in the English language, all of you? Anyone not comfortable? English? It is fine, no? Okay. Prior to starting the talk, I have one condition with you. Let this talk of 3 hours be interactive, participatory. Participatory means like you can ask me anytime, and also allow me also to ask you, so that the talk will be more lively. Is it fine? Agreed? Thank you. And I understand that some of you are PhD scholars, some of you are entrepreneurs. Fine? So now we will go to the topic which I would be sharing certain insight into the food regulation and with a specific reference to nutraceuticals. So, are you aware what products are nutraceuticals? What kind of products can we call as nutraceuticals? Anybody would like to answer? You have any caller mic, ma'am? Caller mic is there? Because normally I would like to just move around. Anybody would like to tell me what do you mean by nutraceutical? Anybody? Whatever you don't hesitate. Please don't hesitate. Anything you know, you can talk. Don't think that my answer would be wrong and this, that, and all. Nothing. It is just sharing. Please, anybody? What is the difference between functional food and nutraceutical? Is there any difference, or these two are same thing? Yeah. Yeah. Correct. I will just explain it more precisely. Suppose I take example of turmeric, haldi. So, is it fine? Can you hear? Haldi or turmeric, we can call it as a functional food. Because haldi, what is the difference between food and functional food? Many times people will say that every food is functional food. Every food, like functional food means it has a specific function. But all the foods have a specific function. Like foods will provide you energy, calories, protein, fat and all. But functional food, what we say, it is a specific kind of activity. So suppose I took example of turmeric. Turmeric, I can call it as a functional food because it may have certain therapeutic or medical property, health property. Like suppose it could be a kind of antiseptic. Many times we use it as that. And so that turmeric, I can call it as a functional food. Similarly, tea. Tea, I can call it as a functional food because it may have certain antioxidants. But when I extract the curcumin from the turmeric, have you heard the term curcumin? Yeah, curcumin is the bioactive compound of turmeric. So it is a one constituent of turmeric which confers the functionality of the turmeric. So whatever I told that turmeric is the antiseptic, so that antiseptic property is turmeric is actually conferred or attributed to curcumin specifically. So now if I extract the curcumin from the turmeric and then some of you, suppose you extract it, formulate it and then sell it as only curcumin, not as a turmeric. You have extracted it. Extraction can be either water extract, extraction can be ethanolysis. So you can extract it, concentrate it. Now you are only focusing on the bioactive compound which is conferring the benefit for that functionality. So you have extracted, concentrated, like curcumin. Now when you are selling the curcumin, curcumin will be called as nutraceutical and turmeric will be called as a functional. Similarly, I took example of tea. Here in your valley, tea is common and you are using it for various therapeutic uses also. So tea has one specific bioactive ingredient which is called as caffeine or catechin. So suppose you take out caffeine, most of the time it comes from coffee, and catechin you take out from the tea, then you can extract it, concentrate that. Now you are selling only catechin. So now when you sell the catechin, that will be called as nutraceutical, while the tea may be called as a functional food. Is it fine? Could you understand that? All of you? Anybody has any doubts on that? Similarly, so many like neem we take, amla we take, and brahmi. So many products are there which we use for functional food, and then active ingredients like from amla, bacopa, like those kind of things. Suppose we extract it and then we concentrate that and then we sell it. Maybe those kind of things will be called as a nutraceutical. So hope it is fine, sir. No? Okay. Now these are the presentation subheads under which we would talk and we would share the knowledge. Please be interactive. Any point if you feel that it requires more clarity, please ask me. Otherwise, I will not know whatever I am saying, whether it is meaningful to you, whether it is understood to you or not. So once you interact, I will be happy for that. Yeah.
Is it that the food from which nutraceuticals are extracted? Is
No,
that
food with that nutraceutical, total.
Right.
Total. But when you have extracted the bioactive compound and then you are concentrating that.
For example, if you take rice,
Yeah.
so we do not extract anything from
Yeah.
rice, right? So that would not be called.
Generally, we don't call rice as a functional food.
Right.
Rice will be food. That is why I told difference between food and functional food. Food will have general kind of, because rice will have protein, starch, fat, and all those things. But when we are talking any commodity, any food which is conferring any therapeutic or health benefit is specific, which has been proven, then we call that food as a functional food. I told you some example: Brahmi, neem, amla, tea, coffee, so many such kind of foods. Fine, thank you. Now, this is, I'm sure that all of you are from the food background. How many of you take pride in working in the food? How many of you are happy that yes, I work in the food area? I am sure that all of you must take pride into that. All of you must take pride of you into working in the food. Why? I will tell you. Food is one commodity which is basic to your existence. Without food, we cannot exist. Agree? Anything else, textile, automobile, cement, steel, pharma, whatever you talk, anything. Without that, you can survive for few days, months and all. But without food, hardly you can survive. Maybe at the most for 1 day, 2 days or so, but you need food. So that is your basic requirements of existing. That is why it is important. Second thing, food is one area where every other areas are connected with the food. Name any subject, any field which is not connected with the food. Chemistry, physics, biology, microbiology, nutrition, communication, engineering, management, anything you talk, any field you talk, it is connected with the food. Food is a multidisciplinary kind of commodity, wherein every other subjects are also required to be known. You are already communicating with the various spheres, be it the physics, chemistry, biology, anything, microbiology, you all know that engineering, all those things are required. So that is how your role becomes very important, because you are sought after by several other sections of the science. Agree? Third thing, food also one commodity which is dynamic in nature. It will change on its own. Even if you don't do anything, you have suppose harvested the wheat, rice, fruits from the field, kept it there. Don't expect that that product will remain stable for a long time. It will change. It will have its enzymatic activity, it will have its chemical activity, it will have its biological activity, microbiological activity, it will have effect of the environment, effect. When you are growing the food into the field, it will vary due to the soil, irrigation, fertilizer, pesticides, agrochemicals. Everything will affect storage conditions, transport, whatever you talk, that every factor will influence your food. Is it not? So now your challenge comes as a food technologist You know that I have a commodity which is dynamic, which is changing with the time, with the factors, with the environment, but at the same time, your role is also to control the quality and safety of the food, because food needs to be eaten, consumed. Once you eat, it will affect your health. So it is so challenging. Any commodity I told, textile, auto, anything, they will not change. Auto parts, electrical parts, anything you talk, they will not change so much with the time, with the conditions and all those things, but food will change. So your role becomes more challenging, because and also you don't expect that, suppose you are formulating any food, suppose you are formulating bread, you are formulating jam, you are like anything, you are sourcing various ingredients when you formulate that. Maybe you will source flour, wheat, atta, you will flour fat, you will flour egg, you will get sugar, maybe enzymes, and so many things, those will go into the formulation. Now all those ingredients will not be consistent day by day. When you are procuring from market, flour or egg or fat or sugar, maybe those kind of things will not be same today after 5 days, because probably the wheat which you have sourced from one firm may not be same with the other firm. So many variables. But as a food formulator, as a company, when you are selling the food, you are required to have a consistent kind of product quality. Your consumer will not think that since so many ingredients are there, variables will be there, so probably quality of 2 days may not be same as now. He will expect that you have a consistent kind of quality, but it is a very tough task, because you have to always control all those parameters. So these are the real challenges which we as a food fraternity, we deal with that, and we have to control all those factors so that my consumer expectations are not changing. He or she feels that yes, my product is consistent, quality is good. So those challenges nobody else will get. We only get in the food kind of field. So please take pride in whatever you are working, and these are the reasons. We are not taking pride without any cause. We are taking pride with all these kind of reasons which I have told you. Fine? Agree. Now another thing, food. Lot of technologies have come in the last 5-10 years or so. You must have heard, we just heard now, nutraceutical, functional food. You must have heard GM food. You must have heard nano foods. You must have heard irradiation. So many technologies. Nowadays you are getting food which is printing food. Have you heard the term food printers? Anybody? Food printers. That is a new technology which is coming, wherein you are, like, suppose I told examples of nutraceuticals. Here in food printers, what you do, you are extracting the specific bioactive compounds or specific nutrients. Suppose you want only unsaturated fat. So maybe you will source the unsaturated food. You don't want saturated food, because any food you take, any oil you take, it will have all the things: saturated food, mono unsaturated, poly unsaturated, MUFA, PUFA, saturated fat. Normally they will be in the ratio 1:1. Maybe any oil you take, sunflower oil or any oil, they will have all the things. Now you don't want saturated food, fat. You want only the unsaturated. You can extract the unsaturated food fat from the oil and then you can formulate it into your food. Suppose you want high protein, 70%, gym or somebody wants that kind of food, you can formulate a food while extracting the protein from soya or somewhere, then you can add it here. Now you can have the unsaturated fat, protein. Suppose you don't want starch, somebody is obese, somebody is diabetic, they don't want the starch. You don't want starch, so you will not get any food which will not have starch. Can you tell any food which is not having carbohydrate? All foods will have. But you want a food which is not having, but you have an option wherein you can extract. You don't want carbohydrate, don't put that. Now you have only the bioactive components specific. Now you can mix it and you can feed into the hopper only those ingredients, and now they will print it. They will make biscuits, they can make chapatis, anything, any shape, any size. So printer will come, like suppose from your printer ink will come. Na? Here you get the formulated constituents, only those will come. You can put any shape, and that shape, once you have it, you can put it into the oven, baking or some kind of thing, and then after that you can use that. So you have a food which is personalized kind of food, which is suiting your physiological body. Somebody don't want fat, somebody don't want sugar, you can do that. So these technologies have come, and now they are formulating it with that. So that's why I told these are the newer things: organic food, functional food, nutraceuticals, GM, nano food. So these are the challenges which we only have to address it, and unless until we have the knowledge, you will not be confident to address those kind of challenges. Earlier times, like 10 years back, 20 years back, we were mainly dependent on our own ethnic food. Like suppose, but nowadays you must have seen in supermarket, banana comes from Chile, maybe apples comes from Washington, New Zealand, you will get the kiwis and all. You just think about, like, when fruits which has got shelf life of hardly 5 days or 6 days, they are coming from Europe, New Zealand, America and all those countries here. So it is challenging because those countries' regulation will not be same as our country. So we need to also control on all those things. So these are the various challenges which we are facing it, and I'm sure that you should appreciate it and you should be prepared to address all those kind of challenges. Fine? Okay? Now, as a consumer, when you go to market, you may have choices to buy a food. Suppose you want to buy a biscuit. You will go to market, you will get 100 types of biscuits. Now, how do you choose the product which suits you? So these are the few attributes you may like to consider it. First thing would be quality. I have put here. Though quality, normally we say that it is an overall thing. Everything covers into that. But here I mean only the sensory part. Sensory means which is appealing to your senses, appealing to your eyes, maybe your taste, tongue, maybe your texture, mouth feel and all. So many of us will be attracted by the shape, color, taste and all those things. Some of us would be tempted by the safety. We don't want a food which is not safe. Means most of the time food is considered safe, but many times you know that food will contain additives, many additives like color, preservatives, antioxidants, so many things. And these additives are permitted into the food. So it is permitted, but additives are basically chemicals. Anything like, suppose you talk about the benzoyl peroxide which is added into the flour, you talk about the BHA, BHT which is added into the oil as an antioxidant. So all of them are basically a chemical. They are added into the food. So many times many consumers would not like to get the chemicals into the food. They would like to have a food which is as fresh, as organic, because they feel that natural, fresh, organic foods might be beneficial, healthy for them. But many times when you get into the market, you can read the nutritional facts that are there. By that nutritional facts, you will know that what ingredients are put into that fat, whether it suits you or not. Many times we don't see that, but I will encourage you to, whenever you buy anything, look at the package, what it contains, what ingredients, what nutrients, so that you know that what are you consuming, and in case you require certain specific thing, you can search for that. So, and some of us would be looking for a specific kind of physiological requirement, like suppose somebody is hypertension, somebody is obese, somebody is diabetic, somebody is pregnant, somebody is child, somebody is older person. So you will understand that needs, nutritional needs of all those populations cannot be same. What a pregnant person will require may not be required by the other person. What a child will require, what a older person will require will not be same. So it is said that these are the factors which will govern your choices to buy a food, and then above all the cost will come, like somebody would like to have an economical kind of thing. So these are the things which you consider. Is it fine here? Fine then? Yeah. Now when we talk about the food, at the same time we also talk about the food safety, because as I told, when we consume the food, we have to be sure that whatever we are consuming is safe. It is not affecting my health in long term. Everybody wants to stay for at least time wherein you can fulfill all your requirements. So safety can be compromised from farm to fork, from the agricultural field to your house. Like these are the things wherein in the field which I have just mentioned here, fertilizer, pesticides, irrigation many times, maybe the affluent water can come as an irrigation which may have the mercury. If somebody is having paint factory and then affluent is coming into the stream, maybe the heavy metals, cadmium, lead and all those things can come into the field, and then the soil, through the soil, the plant can suck that and it will come into the food area. Pesticides. Then many times the non-veg foods, livestock or marine food, fish and all. Nowadays you must have heard people are using antibiotics into that. Suppose because they want to extend the life of those poultry or those kind of animals, they want to safeguard from flu, some kind of sickness to the poultry and all. So it is always, please sir, it is always and when the farmer or hatcher or they will inject those kind of antibiotics, obviously it will come into the food chain and then you will consume it. Once you consume, then those antibiotics, heavy metals and all will go into your system. Obviously, in the long term, it will have effect on your organs. It will go and deposit into your organs there, and it will have the cancer and all such kind of thing. So these are the things which we need to be alert. And some of you, when you are entrepreneurs, when you want to formulate a food, then you can consider all those factors, that how do you make your sourcing from the field or from the farmers or from the mandis, so that you get a kind of safer food. Then sometimes problems may also come in processing. Maybe processing, if your hygienic condition, sometimes many times oil and lubricants and all may get mixed there. So those kind of things. Then storage. If the proper environment conditions are not there, that will also affect the quality and safety of the food. So these are the concerns. And also, when you carry the food into your house, there also you need to be watchful. Sometimes your product will contain, like store the food into the cold condition. When you don't put it into the cold condition, obviously the product quality will change, because probably the enzymatic activity, chemical activity will change the products. So those all the things may be once open, consumed in 5 hours or 6 hours. All those things will be there. So we need to follow that, so that food safety is safeguarded. Now, these are the some examples I have cited here in recent about few 2, 3, 4 years. Such kind of food safety hazards we have come across. Like you can say, you must have seen artificial ripening, banana, mangoes and all. They use carbide. So though the carbides are banned by law, but still some of the people, they will use it because they want to control the ripening. So then you have the excessive uses of pesticides, heavy metal. Sometimes you must have heard the issue of the specific company which was instant noodles and all, wherein it was told that probably MSG was higher and heavy metal was higher. So those things have come across. You must have also heard about the spurious this alcohol. So when people consume, probably due to the methanolic contamination, methanol instead of ethanol, methanol concentration is higher and people will die due to that. We also heard about the melamine, sudandatai, and also the synthetic milk. Whenever the festival times comes, Eid or some other times, then you will hear that probably in some other part of the country, you will hear that milk supply is short. So then they will make the synthetic milk. They will add some kind of oil, detergents, urea, and all those things formulated into the milk. So these are the few things which we have come across. Is it fine? Anybody has any doubts on that? Okay. Some basic terms. I have talked about the food. Now I am talking this thing in terms of regulation. One thing to clarify here, food is not considered if it is in the farmer's hold. If farmer is having the wheat, rice into his field, or he has harvested and kept in his field, that cannot be covered into the regulation. Once it comes into the market, once it comes for the storage, marketing, then only it will be covered into the regulation. Then only somebody can check and somebody can seize the sample. You cannot go and seize the sample from the field for that. So similarly, the animals, If somebody is using it for commercial purposes, so then only it will be coming under the regulation. Now, when you talk about the quality control, quality assurance, you must have heard the term like substandard food and unsafe food. Is it not? Can somebody tell what is the difference between substandard food and unsafe food?
Substandard food can be consumed,
Yeah.
but unsafe, not up to the mark. उनके उसका जो स्टैंडर्ड होता है वो फॉलो नहीं करता है, जो स्टैंडर्ड फॉलो करना चाहिए।
Yeah, good.
हम लोग कंज्यूम कर सकते हैं, but unsafe food is not safe for consumption. Cannot cause health issues.
Yeah, good. Anything else? Anybody would like to add something else? Yeah, what she told is right. Sunflower oil, any oil. They have specified that oil will have the specific saponification value, iodine value, acid value, and all those parameters. These are called actually quality parameters. So there could be deviation from that. Maybe the saponification value, iodine value may vary, whatever has been specified. But that will not be making the food as an unsafe food. It will be substandard food because it is not meeting the specific requirements which is required by the law. Quality parameter. But sometimes if your pesticides, if your microbiological fungus or bacteria present which is not permitted, then those foods will be termed as unsafe. Basic thing, the consumption of unsafe food may affect your health, but consumption of the substandard food may not affect your health. It may affect your probably the sensory part and all. Maybe you will feel somewhat product is not meeting your taste or something, but probably it may not be unsafe for your health. So that is how the penalties for the unsafe food will be much higher. Also the pesticides, you cannot say that once this food is containing pesticide, it is unsafe. Pesticide also are allowed, permitted, but there is MRL, maximum residues. Like generally it is said that 0.001 ppm. So if it is 0.001 ppm, then if it is within that, then product is safe. But if it is beyond that, suppose it is containing 0.005, then it is unsafe. So whatever is permitted beyond that, if it contains, then it will be unsafe. But any pathogens, presence of any pathogens will be rendering the food as unsafe, because by the law, no pathogen is permitted. Either it is salmonella, either it is anything else, E. coli, coliform and all. So yeast and mold can be permitted, they can be present, but again not up to the extent beyond that. So these are the basic things which we should know that. Right? Anything else? Anybody would like to ask anything? I'd like to add anything? Okay. Now, can anybody tell that how Indian context of food regulation is difficult and challenging when you compare with any other country? US, Europe, Japan, Australia, anything else, when you compare our management of food, how our management is tough? Anybody?
Growing population.
So maybe
Right. As you correctly mentioned, challenge here the operate. Anybody who is dealing with the food, either making, producing, storing, selling, everybody collectively, either it is a hotel, temple, anything, anybody, caterer who is serving you food here, canteen, all of them collectively called as a FBO. Problem here in India, the size of FBO is too large. As per one estimate, we have about 4.5 crore people involved into the FBO. 4.5 crore. 4.5 crore will not be a population of many countries. Many countries. FBOs will include the milkman. Most of you will get milk from the milkman who will come in cycle and he will pour you milk into your pot. He is also a FBO. Many times you go to street food, you enjoy your chaat and all those things. They are also FBOs. But you can understand that their understanding and knowledge will not be same which is required by the regulation. Because they will not know what is unsafe, what is substandard. Probably they are not so much knowledgeable, educated. They don't have so much of the resources to test the food and check whether the food is fine or not. So these are the major challenges which we face in our country. Either your food safety commissioner here or your central or anybody will always consider, you cannot go blindly and catch your milkman and put him behind the bar, because you should understand that what is his challenges. So those kind of problems we face, which is not prevalent in any other country. So, but at the same time, you will also understand that slowly, probably the awareness is coming. Consumers are aware, probably through this kind of workshops, through this kind of seminars, and it is your also duty that when you go talk to your people, your maid, servant, or anybody, when you interact, you also educate them, so that slowly they also will pass on, because 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1000, so that is how the chain will go. So we need to put our effort to make everybody aware what kind of challenges we are faced with and how to address it. So these are the, and another thing which I feel is very challenging here. We get many times, you must have heard that many herbal formulations, many Ayurvedic formulations and so many things, they sell it and they claim that it is for diabetic, it is for hypertension, it is for this and that, but they will not have any scientific evidence. Unless until you have any scientific data, evidence that actually whatever you are consuming, whether it is beneficial or not, those kind of things are also in a big way, and population who are not aware, probably they will fall into that and then they consume many times. Those kind of ingredients may contain harmful ingredients, steroids and such kind of things, which may have the immediate benefit, might be, but long-term effect would be adverse for your health. So these are the things probably we need to be aware and we need to act accordingly. Coming back to regulation, I'm sure that all of you know that now we have only one law, integrated law, which is Food Safety Standards Act, and then along with that we have BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards. BIS is generally a voluntary kind of body, not mandatory, but some commodities, like 6 commodities, still if you are manufacturing water, if you are manufacturing the milk food, like suppose weaning food or infant food, maybe those kind of some 5-6 foods, it is still required that apart from FSSAI, you also need to get the approval of the BIS, packaged drinking water, weaning food, infant food, such kind of things. You need to have the dual kind of approval, FSSAI for all, and then BIS only for some 5-6 commodities. Fine. No? And then we have the Weights and Measures Act. Like Weights and Measures Act is already incorporated into FSSAI, Food Safety Standards. Any product, take example, biscuit, bread, cake, in anything, you cannot sell of any weight or value. They have specified your bread loaf has to be 400 gram, 200 gram, 800 gram. You cannot sell loaf of 180 grams. You cannot sell loaf of 300 grams. So they have specified the specific weight, specific volume that only need to be sold accordingly. There is also egg mark. Egg mark is generally voluntary. They are basically a quality control, basically dealing with the farmers. They are mandate is basically to propagate them, promote them, but still one commodity is required to be mandatorily certified by the egg mark. Anybody can tell that? Oil. Oil. Blended oil. Only blended oil. Okay? Fine. I think I will skip this. You must have heard from the other people what are the various functions of FSSAI. I will not go into the detail. Mechanism of implementation of Food Safety Standards Act. I'm sure that all of you might be aware. It works into 3 channels. Top central FSSAI, which is at New Delhi. Under that, you have the state, like your Jammu and Kashmir, you have your own commissionerate, food safety. So they will be, basically they are the nodal for you. All the food safety concern will be dealt by the state food safety commissionerate. And then you have down the line 3rd stage, which will go into the panchayats and in municipality. So 3 stages, central, state and the district level. So that is how it is get implemented into that. And your state will have each district like Srinagar and Badgaon, or these kind of district will have DOs, designated officers. Their job is basically to regulate and also to grant the licenses and all those things. And then under him or her, there will be FSOs, food safety officer, whose job is basically to take the sample from the market, factory, hotels and all, and send it to the lab, and then lab will analyze it for the parameters which is being put into the standard, and then based on that they will act if it is compliant or non-compliant. Fine. Okay, I will just not go into the details here. Only 2 things. Any one of you, if you are already into the business of food, or if somebody is looking for business, 2 things you can know. One, when you go to the portal, now most of the time it is online, most of the time. So whenever it is required by the law, mandatory, that anybody having the FBO anyone is FPO, they need to enroll by the FOSCOS, Food Safety Compliance System, online FOSCOS. You have to go enroll by putting your password and all those things. You have to put your address and then what kind of product, who is the owner, what kind of this equipments and all those things you have to fill, and some fee you have to pay, and then by that you will enroll. You will get the 16-digit mark, and which you can put it as a FPO enrolled. Now, suppose some of you have formulated a product, because all of you from the R&D, you have the scientific background. Maybe, as we talked about now, if you want to formulate any nutraceutical, any functional food, any specific novel food, which is not already standardized into the regulation. Like regulation has almost about 1,100 products which has been already standardized. They have put that what shall be the quality, what shall be the safety and all. But suppose you formulate any novel food which has not covered into those already existing products, then you can go to the e-pass. On the site only, FSSAI site, you will get electronic product claim approval application system, e-pass. So there, if somebody has a startup or something, you can go and then apply what is your specific novel food and what is the specific application of that. If you have formulated something for a specific health, diabetes or something like that, you can always go to the site of the e-pass and then you can enroll it. So then you have to submit certain documents which will basically that how do you justify your product has certain functional property, so that has to be submitted. I'm sure that all of you know that what is the difference between the licensing and registration. Fine, everybody? Can somebody tell that? Anybody can tell what is the basic difference?
Crore it is stated.
Yeah.
And below, for example, up to 1 lakh, up to 2 lakh, then it is registration.
Yeah.
12 lakh.
12 lakh. Yeah. And similarly, it is also for dairy and hatchers. How many? Told you. You need, I have put at the end, any novel proprietary food, you need to get license from the center. These are the minimum labeling required. Any product you formulate, your product shall contain on this packet. These are the minimum things which you have to take care. Name of the food, ingredients in descending order. Means the whatever ingredient is maximum into the food will come first. Quantity maximum will come first, then next. Then nutritional information. As I have told you first, that protein, fat, sugar, saturated fat, those things also need to be analyzed and put, calories and all. Though this is exempted for some specific food. I have mentioned here like tea, coffee, single agricultural commodity. Somebody wants to sell wheat, somebody wants to sell pulses, rice only, then you don't have to declare nutritional fat, coffee, tea, sugar. So those single agricultural commodities you don't have to declare nutritional fat. Apart from that, certain traditional foods like pickle, pepper, spices, turmeric powder and all. If it is single ingredient, you don't have to put nutritional facts. Veg, non-veg symbol, food additives with INS number has to be there. Name and address of manufacturer, net quantity, lot number, batch number. Sometimes you see that shelf life 9 months. Sometimes you see that product must be consumed by the 10th of December. So this is depending on the shelf life. If your shelf life is shorter, maybe like example bread or maybe cake or maybe milk, you cannot write 10 days or 20 days or something. You have to write date, by which date you have to consume that. But if the product is stable like oil or something, you can write that 6 months, 8 months or something like that. Then country of origin, if it is imported food, and also the allergens. Certain products may contain known allergens like milk. Some may contain wheat. Somebody is allergic to wheat. Somebody is allergic to soya. Somebody is allergic to egg. Maybe those kind of specific ingredients, if products has, you have to warn your consumer product contains soya, which may be allergic to a certain individual. So these are the things which you need to declare. So these are the mechanisms. I will not go into the detail. I am sure that you must have learned how this sample will be picked up. It will be sent to the for the analysis, and then you have the power to challenge it and all those things. Ultimately, it comes if you challenge that, if you challenge the decision of FSO or DO, then this will come to the RFL, Referral Food Lab. So India has several 8-10 RFLs. One of them was in Mysore. I was the director of that for about 8 years or so. So then it comes to us, we will not know the background of it. We will not know that what your primary person or primary laboratory has analyzed and where the sample has failed. We don't know anything. We will only get the sample and we will independently analyze it, and then our analysis will be taken as a final, and based on that the DO will take action. Fine. Anybody has any doubts here? Okay.
Sir, what represents INS?
Numbering system. Like every additive is assigned the INS number. Earlier we used to call E number. Now it is called as a INS number. Suppose I take example of sunset color, sunset yellow. So that has got INS number. I think it is 130 or something. INS 130. So it means that on the product you don't have to write the detail like sunset yellow. You can just write INS 110. That is short form. And that INS is across the world. Everyone will use the same INS number. So that is why it is called the International Numbering System. And this is specific to the additive. Every additive has a specific INS number. Fine. These are various regulations. I will not go into the detail. Now I will come back to the last part of this talk, which is on nutraceutical and functional food, which I will go into details of this. Why it is important? Because I will just cover some of the health. Obviously, this nutraceutical or functional food comes because of the health concern, because of nutritional concern. So these are the certain things nowadays you must have learned, you must have seen in your population or also the NCDs, non-communicable diseases. We call them as a probably diabetes, hypertension due to the sedentary work style. We are not doing too much of physical activity. We are mostly with our computers and all, and probably stress a kind of factor. So many things, pollution, so many factors. So NCDs are increasing, and you are getting significant population, very young age, maybe 25, 30 years, they get diabetic, they get probably hypertension. Many people are suffering due to that. So that is how it is important that how to manage that, what kind of food, what kind of functional food, nutraceutical foods can be taken so that we can manage those kind of individuals. As per the latest survey, children, almost 34% children are stunted, means the height is not as per the age. About 21% are wasted, means their waste and all those things, it is not as per the age. So lot of children are affected. Almost about half of women population are anemic, and so these are the things which we need to address. At the same time, we are getting almost 15 to 18% of population are obese. They are having too much of the muscle mass, their fatty mass. Probably a major source is HFSS, high fat, sugar and salt. Our consumption of fast food, maybe chips and those kind of things is high because maybe you feel that it is convenient and then you consume that, too much of it. So high fat, saturated fat, salt, sugar and all, it will cause those kind of NCDs. So that we need to address as per protein, calories, folic acid, B12, vitamin A. These are the basic things which our population is deficient. So if somebody wants to formulate a food, maybe you can consider this. You can increase the sources of food which is higher into this vitamin A or vitamin B12 or folate and all, so that you can target those kind of population. You must have heard the eat right movement. Aware that how much calorie, how much protein, how much fat, how much carbohydrate, how much salt, sugar on an average an individual should consume. Anybody can answer anything, like as an individual, how much protein I should take every day, how much fat I should take, how much sugar. Anybody can tell anything, any of that? Average 1660 to 2100 calories. Average. I am not talking about the soldier who is requiring the higher kind of calories and all. For us here, normally about 1800 to 2000 calories. Anybody? How much protein every day? Any idea? Guess? Anybody? How much protein every day? $45 to 50 gram per day. Average, you can say 50 grams. from all the sources like rice and all those things, about 45 to 50 gram of protein you should consume per day. And fat content has to be low, maybe 25 or 30 gram at the most, 20. I'm not talking about a specific individual, I'm just talking about the generic kind of requirement. It may change because if somebody is pregnant, obviously the requirement of the fat and all shall be higher. So I'm just talking about the average. And then you can, most important is salt. Many times our salt intake is high. We consume so many things, snack, pakoras, chips and sauces, so many things we consume, curry, and through all those salt content is higher actually. On an average, it says that every day 1.5 gram sodium when you count NaCl, so it is 2.5 times. So at the most every day from all the sources of food, your salt content should not exceed about 4 grams. 4 grams.
This 2000 mg would be microgram, right?
Mg, milligram. 2000 mg means 2 grams. 2 grams. 1 gram equals to 1000 mg. So 2 gram. 2 gram I have put it as a sodium here. But when you convert it into the salt, NaCl, it will come about twice the thing. So maybe about 4. Similarly, I have just put a quantity of various folate, B12. As you saw, these two, folate and vitamin B12, our population is highly deficient. Most of us are veg. Here you consume non-veg, but B12 comes basically from the non-veg sources. B12 always comes from the non-veg, meat and all. Maybe if somebody is veg, for him or her the source of B12 will be algae, like spirulina. So only source for vegetarians for B12 will be the algae or spirulina. Otherwise, it all comes from the non-veg sources. So maybe you may have to take, if somebody is veg, maybe they can take the capsules or something so that you will supplement that B12. Is it fine here? Anybody? All fine? Here I have just mentioned, like suppose we take average of 2000 calorie per day for us as an average. You see here, 25% calories should come from 3 meals: breakfast, lunch, dinner. Means about 2000 by 24 means about 500. 500 calories for breakfast, 500 for lunch, 500 for dinner, 1500. Then rest will come from 2 evening snacks we take. Maybe sometime we take tea, coffee and all those things. So from that it comes. So these are the some kind of representation which you should maybe keep in mind, because that will be important whenever you formulate your food. If you want to innovate or something, you have to always consider those kind of dietary guidelines. Now, if somebody regulator wants to control the intake of salt, sugar, fat and all, how it can be done, how a consumer can easily find whether the product is suitable for him or her or not. So these are the some of the examples have been put. Whenever you go and buy a fridge, you look for the star rating. Is it not? Yes. 3-star, 4-star, 5-star or something. That denotes the energy consumption of that appliance. Like if it is 5-star means energy compliance is low and then emission is low. Similar kind of approach can be followed because nobody will have time to read this, all these fine points that how much calorie, how much fat and all. If you have a star, 2-star, 1-star, 5-star, here on top, you know that this product is low into salt, sugar, fat. If it is 5-star, you can say that it is a healthy food. It contains less of fat, low of salt, low of sugar and all. So that kind of approach, some countries are following. In India has not yet adopted it, but I am part of the panel. We are trying to bring that so that consumer will immediately take the food if he finds that it is 5-star or 4-star. He will avoid a food which is having a single star or something. So it is easy for somebody. Some countries are also using the traffic signals. Like when you go on the in your car or somewhere, signals comes there, then the green one you will go, the red one you stop there. Similarly, product can have the color code, green, red, so that you know that this product is not safe for me if the code is red. If the code is color green, you say that yes, it is fine. So these are the various approaches which can be easily conveyed to a consumer. Either he is educated or he is non-educated. Only by seeing the color, he can take the thing. So these are the things which might come.
So if this thing comes into regulation, then the manufacturer will have to put it on.
Yeah. They have to see that how much salt content, how much sugar content and all, so that accordingly he will put that symbol on. Some batteries. Okay, I will not spend too much time here. These are certain prohibitions. Cases are loose oil and loose spices. Sale is banned. Nobody should sell the loose oil and loose spices. Carbide fruit, coating of fruits. Sometimes you see apple shining kind of coating, will be the wax coating. So certain coatings, 3 coatings, carnauba wax, beeswax, they are permitted. Not paraffin and all, synthetic and all, they are not permitted. Only beeswax, carnauba wax and shellac. These are the permitted ones. It can be used. If your product contains aspartame, which is a sweetener, artificial sweetener, aspartame, you have to declare not for PKU, phenyl ketogenics kind of people. So these are some things you have to follow. And these are the health claim. I am putting this specifically to the PhD holders or somebody is startup. You can formulate a food which is specific nutrients, and these claims are permitted by FSSAI. If your product is rich in vitamin A, you can write on your product that vitamin A helps against the night blindness. If your product is rich in vitamin D, you can write that vitamin D supports strong bones. So similarly, vitamin B12 important for maintaining the normal functioning of nervous systems. Folate and all. So these kind of things are permitted. If your product contains appreciable amount of such kind of nutrients, you can declare on your products. You don't have to take a separate approval for that. Similarly, here if like suppose if your products contain low sodium, then you can write that diets low in sodium may help in reducing the blood pressures. So these kind of claims can be always put into your formulation. If your saturated fat and cholesterol into, mainly cholesterol comes from, anybody can tell the source of cholesterol? From which source cholesterol comes? Yeah, meat and milk. So mainly it comes from the animal foods. Cholesterol will not be there in plant oil, like suppose sunflower oil and all. Always comes from the animal sources. So those kind of, suppose your product is low into the cholesterol, you can always say that diet low in saturated fats contributes to maintenance of the blood pressures and all. Potassium aids into the hypertension. So if your product contain higher potassium, you can say that product could be beneficial for the hypertensive patients. Similarly, ALA and dietary fiber. If your products contain oats, barley, you can say that it is rich in beta glucans, and that will be helpful in reducing the diabetes and all. So this kind of claims can always be indicated into the products. Now, many times you must have seen products which will have low fat, fat-free, sugar-free. Can anybody tell that what is the difference? Low fat, fat-free kind of thing. How can a product claim that my product is fat-free? How can a product claim that my product is low fat? What is the criteria of that? Anybody? Anyone? See, it has been defined into the regulation that you cannot simply write that my product is low fat, fat-free and all. It has been defined that in your product, if fat is less than 3 gram, 3%, if less than 3%, you can claim product as low fat. Similarly, if fat content is less than 0.5 gram, 0.5%, if your product has less than 0.5% of fat, though it has 0.5, you can write it as a fat-free. Similarly, sugar, if it is containing less than 5% of sugar, you can call it as a low sugar product. If the product contains less than 0.5% of sugar, you can call it as a sugar-free product, product free from the sugar. So these are the things: sodium, potassium. If your energy is less than 4 calories per 100 gram, you can call it as a calorie free. If it is less than about 40 calories, you can call it as a low calorie food, so that people will immediately take, they know that product is containing so much. So these are already specified. Many times we as a formulators will not know this actually. So, and we will put something and which will catch the regulator's eye. So that has to be very, very precise. Fortified food, I am sure that all of you are aware, na? Fortified food, some of the foods like wheat, oil, milk, salt, all can be fortified. And then if you are fortifying it either with iron, iodine, zinc, vitamin A, B, D and all, you can put this symbol here on your product so that your product appeal shall be higher. I have just put one example of fortified rice. Nowadays, government is emphasizing on supplying the FRKs, fortified rice kernel, because of the various deficiencies in population. Ration are this MDM, meal and all. Government is supplying all these things, fortified rice. And I have just put examples what can be fortified: iron, folic acid, B12 and all those things, zincs. I have also put the salts, which salt can be put, and also I have put the amount, up to what amount this can be added. Now I will just take 5 minutes more now, 5-10 minutes. Hope it is fine. Okay. Sometimes to focus your attention for so much of time is a tough task. So that is how probably we need to interact so that your attention can be channelized. I think we talked about this nutraceutical functional food. I have just put down here. You cannot say that this nutraceutical or functional food will prevent cure or prevent some kind of disease, because this thing can be done only by the pharmaceuticals, tablets and capsules. You can only say that it will maintain, it will manage your health. Like suppose somebody is diabetic, it will help, it will manage your diabetes. Then if you are adding any specific nutrients, like we talked about the vitamin B12, we talked about the iron, we talked about the folic acid. If you are formulating some functional food, those ingredients like folic acid or those vitamin B12, your product must contain 15 to 30% of RDA, recommended dietary allowance, which I have shown you in the table. How much is the recommended dietary allowance per day, how much you have to consume. So your product, whatever you are claiming as a functional food, minimum 15 to 30% of that. Suppose you are putting protein, so I have told that 50 grams protein per day, RDA. So at least 20-30% means about 10 or 15 grams your product shall supply. If I consume 100 grams, I should get at least 50 or 18 grams of the protein from that. Then only you can claim that as a functional food. So these are the things. Sometime you will declare that my product contains 15% protein. But as I told you, your ingredients will vary. You will source from different sources. It will not be possible for you to always maintain 15%. So that is how this regulators have allowed 10% variation. Even if you claim 15%, 10% of 15 means 1.5. So your product may not have 15, even if it is having 13.5, still it is fine. So minus 10% allowance is fine for that. I told you, whenever you are doing nutraceutical, water extract and ethanolic extract can be followed to extract the bioactive compound from that food. But no hormones, no steroids, those things are not permitted. Amino acids can be added. This I think we talked about. These are the generic kind of claims, immunity, anti-aging. So you can think about, you can formulate a product which will build the immunity, because due to the COVID and all, probably we were looking to probably build the immunity. So you can have a food which is rich, maybe in vitamin A, vitamin C and all. They will aid into the immunity. Sometimes you have seen a product where they write that proven to be beneficial for hypertension. Sometimes you will see that shown to be beneficial for hypertension. What is the definition? So these words we very loosely use that, but we don't understand that what is the meaning of this shown and proven. So that is how it is explained here. If it is mentioned that shown to be beneficial of hypertension, it means that we have carried out the scientific analysis, but shown means it is a single human. We have conducted the trials with one person and it has shown the beneficial effect. But when you say the proven, means the population was larger than one. You have done the extensively, maybe about 4, 5, 10 kind of persons, patients. You have supplemented them and then it has proven to be beneficial. So obviously when somebody puts here proven to be beneficial for diabetes, so as a consumer I am more confident that product is better for me than the shown one. Fine. These are the targets. Some of you, if you are formulating, you can think about, I told you about the immunity, you can work about the obesity, you can work against the low weight, you can work about diabetes, hypertension, pregnant, lactating. What kind of food will be suitable for pregnant women? Maybe those kind of things you can look for. Also the geriatric population who is elderly. So these are the things. Maybe somebody may like to have a food for the sports person. So where you need to have the higher energy sustained one. Okay. So these are the various kind of targets which you can look for when you formulate it. The various bioactive compounds of nutraceuticals. I have just put it here some example. Amla, Brahmi, Neem, Tulsi. These are the things which are generally called, suppose you ask me, suppose coca is a very kind of food, and kokum, suppose somebody makes a juice from that, kokum juice, then you can call it as a functional juice. But when you extract the Garcinia indica from that kokum and then you sell the Garcinia indica, then that will be a nutraceutical. Fine. Similarly, amla, if you formulate any food with the amla as such, then you can call it as a functional food. But when you extract the umbilica from the amla and sell that, then you can call it as a nutraceutical. Yeah.
Like all the bioactive companies are
Right?
is it like all the extracted bioactive components are nutraceutical?
Yeah, bioactive compound, if it confers any beneficial health, if it is proven, either it has proven in vitro, in the lab, or in the cell line, or in the animals, or in the humans. If it has shown any beneficial effect, those bioactive compounds, they can be called as a nutraceutical.
Sir, what if we extract these bioactive components from medicinal plants and we infuse them in any food? So will that food be regarded as nutraceutical or
No.
functional food?
Those foods will be called as a functional food. Only the bioactive compound, if you isolate it, concentrate it there, and sell it as a bioactive compound, then that purified compound will be called as a nutraceutical. You cannot call that compound when it is incorporated here. This food cannot be called as a nutraceutical. This food can be called as a functional food. But then you have to declare this contains that bioactive compound, how much quantity, and then you should have data to support either it is in vitro, in vivo and all, whether that health benefit is shown, proven. So then you can do it. Fine? So hope it is fine, all of you. It is important because I understand that you could be a startup, you could have some kind of formulation. So it is important to understand that what is the basic. And now when you talk about the regulation of nutraceuticals, you can go to the site of FSSAI. You will look for the health supplement, nutraceutical, food for special dietary use, food for special medical use, functional food, novel food. That is a separate regulation. You will find Schedule 1 and 2. Schedule 1 and 2 deals with vitamins and minerals. Means if you are adding any vitamins and minerals, they have added how much and all those things. Schedule 2 is amino acid. You can also formulate a food with a specific amino acid, arginine or anything. Then Schedule 4 deals with all this herbal compound, bioactive compounds, neem, brahmi, amla, kokum and all. I have just put some of them, hundreds are there like that. Then I have also put Schedule 5, which is additive. Even in those nutraceuticals, they may not be stable as such. So you may have to use certain stabilizers. You may have to use certain preservatives. So those kind of additives are also specified which can be used. You cannot use anything. So whatever is specified, only those kind of additives which is put into Schedule 5, that can be used. Fine? Now, I have just taken one example here. Like how much to use, that also they have put. Like suppose I talk about the pepper, black pepper. So black pepper has got piperine. Like I told, haldi, turmeric has curcumin. Similarly, citrus food, they have quercetin. Is it not? Have you heard that term? Quercetin. Similarly, silymarin or this spirulina, they have all indicated in that Schedule 4. You will find that how much quantity it should supply to call it as a nutraceutical. You cannot put a small quantity and say it is a nutraceutical. So they have all specified what is the supply per day, and accordingly you should ensure that your product contains that. Schedule 7 deals with the probiotics and Schedule 8 deals with the prebiotics. Can anybody mention any example of prebiotic? Prebiotic. Anybody? Any prebiotic? Anybody, especially PhD ones?
microbes that we have in our
Prebiotics.
Prebiotics or probiotics. So, like we
Correct.
have links that
Yeah, correct, right. So most of time it is a kind of fibrous kind of thing. Inulin or lactulose or those kind of things, we call them as a prebiotic, which is required as a feed or nutrient for the probiotic. Probiotic is a strain, like it could be lactobacillus, lactococcus and all. But whenever you are claiming to be a probiotic, the concentration efficacy should be minimum more than 10 to the power 8 colonies of that, 10 to the power 8 per serving of that. Inulin, FOS and all those things can be called as a prebiotic. So these are all categorize all those things into schedule 1 to schedule A, all those things. Fine. Just last now slide. This is for you in case you are trying to formulate, in case you are trying to use it for your PhD work or anything, any startup. These are the inputs, like based on various inquiries, requirements and all. I have just consolidated various immunity boosting foods. Nowadays population is asking for that. It could be rich in protein, vitamin C, zinc and bioactive compound. If you can formulate a food with zinc, maybe with vitamin C, higher protein and all. Wellness superfood, quinoa, chia, pumpkin seed, they are having a kind of overall wellness health. Spice mix like your kahwa, similarly kasaya, amla. So maybe these kind of spice mix, herbal foods and all. Vegan foods. Nowadays, large population is also looking for vegan foods. They are looking for food which is not derived from the animal sources. Like suppose they want to get a protein, fat and all, it can come from either almond or soya and all. Maybe you can formulate to those kinds of vegan foods. Protein bars, brown rice, green tea. So these are the ideas maybe you can consider whenever you want to have some kind of startup, some kind of food formulation. Thanks for your attention and I'll be happy to address anything which was not so clear here and which require more attention. I have another talk after this. Maybe you can have a break for about 5 minutes.
So just one question. So, like you said that claims which are made that is to be efficient for like particular nutrients for particular disease. So if there's a claim which is made outside of India and it's not like regulated into a website,
it can be done. Whatever claim is made outside the India, literature or scientific data, if you can source it from there, you don't have to do it again. We call it as a past history. So if you have a past history of that claim, if you have the document, that document you can support it with your claim, that will be fine.
so that should be like submitted to the
Yeah.